Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might sting a little. If people are constantly crossing the line with you, if you're always the one getting overlooked, disrespected, or walked all over, it's not just them. It's what you're allowing. Life doesn't hand you respect, it reflects it. And if you're tired of feeling like you're not enough, tired of playing small, tired of swallowing your words just to keep the peace, then it's a to stop blaming the world and start looking in the mirror. Because the truth is, you teach people how to treat you. You build or break your confidence with every action you take or don't take. And you set the tone for your life not with what you say you'll tolerate, but with what you actually allow. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to explain your every move just to be seen or heard. What you need is to get brutally honest about what you're accepting and why. You're not here to play safe, to keep everyone happy, or to tiptoe around your own boundaries. You're here to live fully, speak boldly, and walk like someone who knows they belong. This is not about ego. This is about self-respect, and it starts now. Now here's the asterisk expansion of Keynote No. 1700 words, no headings, no ending lines. The way people treat you isn't some mystery of the universe. It's a reflection of what you've allowed, encouraged, or tolerated. You train people how to treat you through every action, every silence, every time you let something slide, and every time you say it's okay when it wasn't. Respect isn't just earned by doing good work or being a good person. Respect is commanded when your behavior signals, I matter, my time matters, my energy matters. It starts in the smallest moments. If you say yes when you want to say no, you're teaching people that your time is up for grabs. If you let someone talk over you or dismiss your ideas and you stay quiet, you're saying, my voice doesn't need space here. It doesn't matter how smart, kind, or capable you are. If you don't draw the line, people won't guess where it is. The truth is, most people aren't out to hurt you. They're just busy thinking about themselves, their needs, their goals. So when they push, test, or take advantage, it's not necessarily malice. It's momentum. And if you don't stop it, you become a doormat with a smile. You have to own your role in the dynamic. This isn't about blame, it's about power. It's not about being mean or loud or aggressive. It's about being grounded, clear, unapologetic about your worth. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Your body language, your tone, the look in your eyes when you say, no, I'm not available for that. Or I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. You don't have to shout to be heard. But you do have to believe yourself. Because if you don't believe in your own boundaries, no one else will. And this doesn't only apply to people who obviously cross the line. It applies to the subtle disrespect, the sarcastic comment that stings, the friend who only calls when they need something, the colleague who takes credit for your ideas. You can't fix what you won't confront. And confrontation doesn't have to be a fight. It's simply honesty with courage. It's saying, hey, that didn't sit right with me. Or I felt overlooked in that meeting. Most people will respect your honesty if you deliver it with calm and confidence. But even if they don't, that's feedback. That tells you who you're dealing with. And that's a gift. Every time you let disrespect go unchecked, it chips away at your self-respect. And self-respect isn't something you wake up with, it's something you build with consistent action. It's built when you keep promises to yourself, when you walk away from what insults your soul, when you stop settling for crumbs of connection or kindness. You're not being too much when you ask to be treated with dignity. You're being responsible for your life. The world reflects back the standards you set. So if you're tired of being taken for granted, looked over, or disrespected, you don't need to change everyone around you. You need to change the way you show up. When you respect yourself deeply, consistently, and without compromise, something shifts. People sense it, they adjust, or they leave. Either way, your life gets lighter. Respect isn't about being liked, it's about being known. Known for what you stand for, what you won't tolerate, and how you treat yourself when no one's watching. That's the foundation. That's what makes people pause before they cross a line with you. You don't need to scream your worth. You just need to live it. In how you speak, how you walk, how you respond. Not react. You don't owe anyone comfort at the cost of your own peace. You can be kind and still say no. You can be generous and still have limits. You can be loving and still demand reciprocity. Being respected means sometimes disappointing people, but the ones who matter will adapt. The rest were never really for you. Every time you act from self-respect, you send out a message. I'm not available for disrespect. I don't entertain chaos. I don't dance with manipulation. And that energy speaks louder than any speech, louder than any argument, louder than any apology you'll never get. You don't owe everyone an explanation. That's the truth most people struggle with, because we're taught from a young age to justify ourselves, to soften every no with a reason, to over-explain our choices so people won't think we're rude, selfish, or difficult. But the more you explain yourself, the more you dilute your boundaries. A clear boundary doesn't need a paragraph. It needs certainty. When you say, I'm not available tonight, that's a complete sentence. When you say, I'm not comfortable with that, you don't have to follow it up with a detailed life story. The moment you start justifying, you shift the power. You move from "this is my line" to "please understand my line." And not everyone deserves that access to your why. People often ask, but won't I seem cold or inconsiderate? And no, you seem clear, and clarity is kindness. When you're consistent with your boundaries, people stop guessing. They either respect your line or they reveal they were only there to benefit from your lack of one. And when someone pushes your boundary and you feel the need to explain, pause and ask yourself, who am I trying to convince, them or me? Because sometimes the need to explain isn't about courtesy, it's about guilt. Guilt for putting yourself first, guilt for prioritizing your energy, guilt for not being the version of you that always says yes, even when it costs you your peace. But here's the truth. It's not selfish to protect your space. It's survival. Setting boundaries is not about being harsh or distant. It's about being real, and sticking to those boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable, is how you teach the world what's acceptable in your life. It's easy to say, I don't accept being spoken to like that. It's harder to enforce it when someone you love crosses that line. That's the test. That's where most people fold, because they confuse boundaries with conflict. But boundaries don't create conflict. They reveal it. They bring the truth to the surface, and you can't heal, grow, or move forward if you're constantly sweeping things under the rug just to keep the peace. You're allowed to say no without a smile. You're allowed to cancel plans without guilt. You're allowed to walk away from conversations that drain you. You're allowed to not pick up the phone just because it rings. The pressure to be constantly available, constantly accommodating, constantly explaining. It's a trap. And the moment you step out of it, you'll feel the discomfort first. People will question your change. They'll say, you've changed, or you're being distant. But that's just code for I'm not used to you having boundaries. Let them adjust, or not. Either way, you're reclaiming your time, your energy, your life. And here's the thing. When you stop explaining yourself, you attract people who don't need explanations to respect you. They don't guilt-trip you for needing space. They don't challenge your no. They understand because they've done the work too. They've learned that love doesn't mean unlimited access. That closeness doesn't require constant availability. That connection can be strong even when distance is respected. These are the people who don't make you shrink to stay liked. They see your boundaries and say, good, you know your worth. If you struggle with setting boundaries, start small. Say no to something minor. Don't answer right away when someone demands your time. Sit with the discomfort of not explaining yourself. Notice how much of your energy you've been wasting trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. Not everyone needs to be in the loop. Not everyone gets a seat at your table, and most of the time, the ones who demand explanations are the ones who benefit from your lack of boundaries. You are not responsible for how people react to your limits. You are only responsible for setting them, and once you set them, the real work is in sticking to them, Because a boundary that moves under pressure isn't a boundary, it's a suggestion. And people treat suggestions as optional. If you say, I don't answer work calls after 6 p.m., but make an exception every time, don't be surprised when people keep calling. If you say, I can't lend money right now, but do it anyway to avoid awkwardness, you're teaching people that your no is just a speed bump, not a stop sign. Consistency is what turns a line into a wall, and walls protect. Walls create space. Walls aren't there to shut people out. They're there to keep your peace in. Confidence doesn't come from waiting until you feel ready. It doesn't show up after someone tells you you're good enough. It's not a reward you earn for being perfect. Confidence is built in motion. By doing, by trying, by showing up before you feel sure. Every single person you admire, who walks into a room like they own it, who speaks like they mean it, who moves like nothing can shake them. They weren't born that way. They just kept moving forward, even when their hands were shaking. They didn't wait for permission. They took action and let the confidence catch up later. Most people think confidence is a feeling. It's not. It's a habit. It's a decision you make every day to take one more step, speak up one more time, try again after failing. Confidence is earned through evidence. When you do hard things, when you survive uncomfortable conversations, when you say yes to something new and terrifying, you create proof that you can handle more than you thought. That proof is what builds confidence, not affirmations in the mirror, not waiting until your anxiety disappears, but doing the thing while the doubt is still loud. You don't need anyone's blessing to grow. You don't need a cheerleading squad or a green light. You don't need the stars to align before you start. The truth is, most people wait their whole lives for the world to say, you're ready. But the world is too busy watching people who already stepped into the arena. If you're always waiting to feel confident before you move, you'll stay stuck. You gain confidence by risking rejection, by being seen trying, by facing the thing that makes your stomach flip, and doing it anyway. That's where your power lies, not in waiting but in doing. And yes, taking action without confidence is awkward. It's messy, it's filled with self-doubt, but that's the process. Nobody talks about how uncomfortable growth feels. They just show the highlight reel, but behind every strong speaker was a first shaky speech. Behind every bold entrepreneur was a moment of blind risk. Behind every confident decision maker was a version of them who second-guessed everything. Action is what sharpens your instincts. Experience is what builds your courage. You can read every book, listen to every podcast, collect every tip. But until you move, it's all theory. Confidence also doesn't mean never being scared. It means you're willing to feel scared and act anyway. You stop needing a guarantee. You stop needing everyone to agree with you. You stop needing the outcome to be perfect. That's when things start to shift. You stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. You start making choices that fit your goals, not your fears. And with every step you take, confidence shows up, not in a loud, dramatic way, but quietly, like a whisper that says, you've done this before, you've got this. And here's the truth. When you stop waiting for permission, you stop playing small. You stop filtering your ideas, your voice, your presence through the lens of will they approve? Or will they like me? Confidence is about trusting yourself more than you trust other people's opinions. It's about knowing that your worth isn't up for debate, that your potential doesn't need validation to be real, that your dreams don't have to be understood by everyone to be worth pursuing. Every time you act without waiting to be picked, you pick yourself. And that changes everything. If you want to build confidence, start doing the things you've been avoiding. Send the email, say what you really think, try the thing you're afraid to suck at, make the move you've been postponing. The only way to become confident at something is to do it over and over again until it becomes part of you. And yes, you'll fail sometimes. You'll get embarrassed. You'll make mistakes. But every single one of those moments teaches you something more valuable than any compliment ever could. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you adaptability. It teaches you that fear is loud, but it doesn't get the final say. Confidence doesn't come from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. and that means no one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. Once you build it through your own effort, it becomes part of your identity. Not something you wear like a mask, but something rooted in who you are. Not because you never fall, but because you know you can rise again, every single time.